Instagram how I knew it was time to quit my corporate job and go full-time with my small business. This was one of the scariest, most anxiety-inducing decisions, honestly, of my life. I felt like I had been agonizing over this decision for months upon months. And if you're not familiar with my story, I'm Sophie. I am a graphic designer and illustrator, full-time business owner. I started my business out of a college dorm room and grew it into a full-time business and into a full-time income, and finally took my business full-time in November of 2022. So it has been like a year, a full year. It has been one of the most wild rides of my life, having a business and doing this full-time. Like when I sit in here in my office and work every day, I'm kind of like amazed that I'm in here and doing this and not like going to work for somebody else to fulfill somebody else's dreams and working for somebody else's company. It's really crazy. If you're interested in learning more about my story, I have lots of videos. I did an entire week in the life where I did daily vlogs, filming like my first week as a full-time small business owner. So you can go back and watch those on my channel. But somebody asked me like how I knew it was time to go full-time with my business. And it's such a loaded question, so I wanted to take some time to really answer this in a thoughtful way in a YouTube video. So that's why I'm here today. I won't bore you with any other details other than that. But I would say when it comes down to knowing when it was time to go full-time with my business, there are some people, I feel like there are two types of people when it comes to making the jump from corporate to pursuing a small business full-time. There are some people like me that wait until all the ducks are in a row. We wait until it is totally safe to jump. We try to find the perfect time to make the leap, even though there is no perfect time. And in doing so, we are often left with some feelings of, dang, I kind of wish I would have done that sooner. That's exactly how I felt. I wish that I would have done this. I wish I would have made this decision sooner, but I do trust and believe that it all happened in God's perfect timing. But I look back on it and I'm like, why did I wait that long? I think it was just straight up fear. I think there was a lot of fear. And so I waited until I felt like I had the safest possible circumstances, which means that I waited until I had no other choice. I had been balancing a full-time job with a small business for several years at this point. I've been in business for about 5 years now. So there's that type of person that waits until everything's perfect and it's finally time. And then there are some people that just like take the leap and go. One of my good friends that I've connected with in the small business space, when she graduated from college, she actually never went to corporate, to work in corporate. She just like launched right into her own small business and went for it. And I can't tell you how much I admire that courage and determination and bravery. She was like, I don't need to do it the way that everybody else thinks I should do it. I want to do my small business, so I'm going to do that. And has built a really thriving business. And I'm extremely inspired by her because of that. But I waited, like I said. And for months I waited, and I realized that I was making a full-time income with my business. I was at a point where I was making a very small full-time income, but I did realize though that the amount that I was making per month with my small business was starting to surpass the amount that I would have made at the very first job that I tried to go for when I graduated from college. There was a job in an advertising agency that I wanted, and the starting salary was so low that when I found out what it was, I was like, I did not go to Butler University and get a 4-year business degree to start with a salary that's this low. Like, I'm sorry, but I just feel like I wanted more than that. And so I got to a point with my business where I was like working on this small business with only part-time hours to put towards it, but making a full-time income in my spare time. I'm extremely grateful for that. I don't say any of that to like gloat or anything like that. All of that can only come from God. But my point in sharing that with you though is I literally waited until I had 12 months of consistent full-time level income. Again, the income that I was making, yes, it equates to a full-time salary, but it's like, it was like a low salary. It's not like I was out here making $100,000 with my business while working a full-time job. I waited until I had 12 months of consistent full-time level income. When some people say you just need to wait until you've had 6 months of consistent income, I waited an entire year. I had an opportunity to jump and make the leap earlier when I quit my job in a corporate marketing position and went back to another agency. I could have quit and gone full-time with my business at that point, but like I just didn't feel like I was ready to make that leap, and it didn't feel safe to do that. Everything still felt so like up in the air to me for some reason. And what really made me decide to go full-time with my business was simply that I just knew that I had nothing left to give. At this point, I was out of commission. I was just completely kaput. I was crying all the time. My health was suffering. Like I was getting migraines every week and it was miserable. And I just knew that I was at a point where something literally had to give. And I had to choose between, okay, do I want my small business to be the thing that has to go, or do I want my full-time job to be the thing that has to go? And I just realized that like I knew I was going to regret it if I didn't take this chance. I also consulted with a career advisor, a mentor that I had when I was in college to kind of help me make this decision. I knew I had kind of already had my mind made up, but it made me feel better to have some reassurance from people around me. Of course, I talked with my husband. That was the first person that had to be okay with this decision, was my husband. Talked to my family, and I remember sobbing one night because I was like, I'm just so upset because I could be doing this full time and I'm not. And this is all I want to do. And I'm so upset because I hate going to this job, and I feel bad for my employer because I feel like if I keep going on in the direction that I'm going, I cannot give them 110% right now. Like the people that I was working for, they were wonderful people. And so I didn't want them to like not get what they were paying me for. And I didn't want to jeopardize my personal relationship with them by like not doing a good job for them. And I just knew that I was at a point where I was like, I cannot show up to this job anymore and give this job what it deserves, and they deserve better. Like they deserve somebody that can show up and be all there and be fully present, and that just wasn't me anymore, which was sad. It's not that I like hated being around those people. It was just that like I knew that the job that I was in I didn't like. Like I hated feeling every day like I was leaving a job that I loved and going to go do a job that I didn't really want to do. So I fully knew that I was at a point where I had to make a decision and I had to choose one or the other. And I figured I had worked too hard to let go of my business, and I don't have kids right now. And so I knew that like now is the time to make this leap, not later. This is so unfortunate, but my video camera just died and I didn't want to stop sharing this and stop recording because I don't know when I'm going to get the chance to get this out because I just have a really busy schedule right now. So I'm like, I'm gonna finish this recording. The main factors that went into me deciding to take my business full time were simply that my mental health was suffering, my physical health was suffering, and I had always had this notion in my head that I had to do both for as long as I possibly could. Like, I'm young, I don't have kids, make money and make as much money as you can for as long as you can. And I just realized that everything in my life was suffering. I couldn't give my husband the attention that I wanted to give him. I was spread so thin. I literally could not continue on like that anymore. So I just really got to a point where I waited so long to make that decision that the decision was kind of made for me. I knew I had to choose one thing or the other, and I just felt like I owed it to myself to give it a try. And then I would say the biggest thing that showed me it was time for me to take my small business full time was the peace that the Lord gave me when I did wake up one morning and was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do this. I was actually going to wait until the end of the year. So I went full time with my business in November of last year. Well, I was going to wait until like December or January. Finally, I walked into work one day. I walked in on a Monday and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot do it. So I walked in on Monday in early November, and then by Wednesday handed in my resignation and finished my 2 weeks, which ended up being less. I ended up just doing only another week, and that was that. And I had so much peace. It was so hard to share that information with my coworkers and with my boss. It was a tearful conversation because the people pleaser in me doesn't want to let other people down.
and I didn't want people to feel like I didn't care about them or like I was abandoning them. But I realized like it's a job. It's not personal. It's a job. They deserve to be able to find somebody that could be fully present there, and I just couldn't anymore. A lot of companies talk about like, we're a family, blah, 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 blah. Like I worked in a company earlier on in my career where they described us as a family, and I'm just like, you know what, but we're not. We're not a family. And so a job is a job. People come and go, and it's okay if you have to make a life decision that might let some people down or disappoint some people. And so I kind of had to just get over that, as hard as it was. And I can't hide my emotions. So I cried on several calls. I had to share this information with my coworkers because, like I said, these were really lovely people that I had just really grown to love. And so that was really hard, but so worth it. They were very supportive, which I will never not be grateful for that. But truly, I just kind of got to a point where I was like, the money that I'm making with both of these jobs just isn't worth it to me anymore. I would rather just do my small business. And if it ends up being a pay cut, then it ends up being a pay cut. And I'm happy to say that it was not a pay cut. I have actually surpassed what I was making with both jobs combined, and the year's not over yet. So that is a really good feeling. And I just had a lot of validation and clarity from the Lord after I made that decision. I just had so many moments where I was like, this was the right choice. And I'm so thankful that the Lord gave me so many of those moments of clarity, and really thankful that He was so clear in what the next steps were. Like, I just kind of felt like one night God just stopped me in my tracks and was like, okay, it's time. The decision's already been made. And one thing that I pray for constantly in my business is just that what the Lord has for me is what the desires of my heart would be. I never want to desire something for myself or for my business or for my family that isn't of the Lord or isn't in the Lord's plans for my life. If it's not part of His plan for me, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm so thankful that I'm not in control, and that the Lord is in control, and He is sovereign over everything that happens in my life and in my business, and I can trust Him with all of that. Like, that's the biggest thing, is that I can trust Him. And I knew when I was making this decision, I could trust Him with the decision that I felt like I was being led to make. I have always been provided for. The Lord has always cared for me and taken care of me. And I just rest in that every day. And I rested in that when I made this scary decision, and I've never looked back. And I'm so thankful that I did. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope it's helpful. If you have any questions, any other questions you want to know about making this decision, please let me know. But I will say, when you actually have full-time hours to put towards your side hustle, it's not a side hustle anymore. Like, it's crazy the growth that can happen when you actually have full-time hours to put towards something. I just knew that I'd gotten to a point where I wasn't going to be able to continue to grow unless I had full-time hours to put towards it, unless I could put all my eggs in my small business basket. So if you're in the middle of trying to make a decision like this, I would love to hear from you. If you're hoping to get to this place one day, I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions or anything I can help with, or if you just need somebody to talk to, let me know. Put it in the comments below, and I'm always here to help. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.